realize it's been now about a year, maybe even a little bit more, that I've been on this fresh journey with Jesus. And I think about how I think now. I'm a different human, like transformationally different. I think Romans chapter 12, verse 2, when it talks about renewing our mind and becoming transformationally different. And so this is what I shared with him. I said, I feel like I'm spending time with Jesus, really intimate time with him. And this time is just time of really letting him lead the way. Does he want me to worship? Does he want me to pray for something or about something? Does he want me to just revel in his presence? Does he want me to just be with him? Sometimes softly repeating, I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. I'm so grateful to be here with you. You see, here's the thing. For 5 decades, my relationship with him has been very transactional, and I didn't know it. It's been sold that way, right? We're sinful. We exchange our sinful life for his sacrifice. It's an exchange. It's transactional. We give money and then we are blessed. It's an exchange. It's transactional. We follow the rules and then there's a result. It's all transactional. But what I'm experiencing with him right now isn't transactional. It's time and a deep level of intimacy with him with no expectation of him giving me something. And let me qualify that. I know that I know that I know, like more than just in the back of my mind, that as I give him more of my life, that he's going to pour more life into me. So I want to be really careful as I say that. But there's no deep expectation like right now that I'm giving this and it's transactional. So once again, I get into the concept of expectation and I would say, well, yeah, there still is a background expectation, but there's no transaction that's occurring right now or no belief of a transaction. It feels like there's a genuine closeness, but there's a part of me that feels almost guilty as if I should be giving human earthly things more attention, like my attention is being drawn somewhere that's not productive. So I think that's one of the pitfalls that he was asking about. And yet when I think about Jesus' comment about the first commandment, love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and realizing that the original word in Hebrew for that word love, it was actually more about intimacy and relationship than a transactional, even a worship-based love, like an adoration love. Then what he truly desires is intimacy. He wants to spend time with us, and that's more important than anything transactional about the love. I look back at really the first 5 decades of my life, almost with a regret, like, why didn't I find this sooner? But as soon as I say, oh, why didn't I find this sooner? I realize that's rooted in pride, because who am I to say that I found this? Instead, he found me. He found me at a point of deep need, and he has opened my eyes to this new level of intimacy. So then I have to ask okay, well, why didn't he find me sooner at this place? I don't have an answer. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe he gave me glimpses that I ignored. Okay. I think back 20 plus years ago when I almost had like an OCD response in life. And so when I felt like I was being led by him, I became almost OCD with it. And I remember clearly saying to myself, I can't do this anymore. I must take control and not respond to those impulses. And oh my goodness, if I said I had any kind of regret right now, it would be, I regret thinking that I must take back control. Not fully realizing I was saying no to him, but knowing in the back of my mind that I was risking, that I was losing part of a relationship with him, and that I was making that sacrifice in the name of not becoming mental with the OCD, right? And that ended up being like 20 years away from the intimacy that he might have been putting me in then. I think about a prayer room that I would go to. I had access to it, but I would get bored or distracted because prayer was so much for me back then. And really up until the last year ago, if I spent 45 minutes in prayer, it was asking him for things, or it was a very intentional worship. Again, very transactional and rule-based. And so, I didn't keep going. I think about some worship sets that I recall, and I just didn't feel connected to the people. And so I stopped going, not so much because I wasn't appreciating what was in the meeting, but I wasn't connected to the people. And I think about how I willfully took growing closer in another relationship into my own hands, how I was intimidated to initiate Bible study. And one thing led to another, and although he's blessed me during these 20 years and he took care of me, I had ignored so many signals from him. And so after kind of literally just failing at my own way, classic story here, right? 20 years later, I'm on this deep path of intimacy. And my friend mentioned that there had to be a level of humility. And I agreed. I said I had to surrender to what he wants and what he's doing at the real risk of feeling like I'm not doing enough. I said I want everybody to be able to experience this. There's such a freedom, such a return to our original design, and yet it's so scary because it's not the way the world says it's done. I think even as I'm talking about this, the Lord's guidance to just do the faith-based work first each morning. Do this type of work, record, publish, and he'll take care of the rest. That's really scary because bills are real. The challenges in the world are real. The fights are real. Responsibility is real. And so, what does this really look like? And it's a genuine desire to just be in his presence, to let everything else fall away and look at him, talk to him, listen to him, to be in his presence, just be with him. Listen to him, worship at the exclusion of anything else, accepting that the things around me might not work out, at least at first. Fear of not paying bills, not taking care of things, having to let that fear fall away and just trust him, lean into the time with him. A complete submission to whatever you want, Lord. Even daily, this concept of just asking him, what do you want me to do next? Feeling like I want to plan in the business and feeling like, no, don't plan. Let me lead you each hour. That feels so irresponsible. And yet I feel him asking me to do just that. A complete submission to his will, to his leading, and not doing anything without his explicit guidance. Like if I don't feel like I should do it, from him to not do it. And not to say this is working perfectly, but I feel compelled to do something I should do, and then I do it, and then I second guess, did God really want me to do this? And I think that he didn't, yet I'll justify that I thought that I should, that the result is what it is. Friend, I can only suggest to you to give this a try for yourself. Spend time with the Lord, completely submitted to his thoughts, what he wants you to do. Allow him to guide every step. Trust that he says, my sheep hear my voice. And so trusting that you are hearing him, that if you are not, he will adjust you, and don't give up like I did 20 years ago. Instead of constantly second guessing that you're not hearing him, and that if you don't think it's him, you lean away from doing what it is until you feel released that it is him. Trusting that he will release when it's time, even if you're wrong, even if you incorrectly guess that he isn't leading you. If you just don't do it, then the tension from him will increase to do it, especially if you are just simply relying on trusting him. He sees your heart and your will. He said that if we ask for wisdom, he'll give it to us liberally. So we must believe that he's giving us that wisdom. And we are taking a risk that we're wrong, that we're not hearing him, that it's not wisdom. But if we totally trust that he is leading us, then when we do it, if it's not him, we then trust that he will course correct. Even and I speak this, right? After talking with a friend in the moment, it felt so much more clear than talking about it. It's like I can't come up with the right words, but I just desperately wanted to share with you the heart, because what he's done in me in the last year, I can't even express fully in words. It's an incredible level of dependency, of just spending time with him without an agenda, leaning into him, allowing Jesus to mold to the time with him and direct it. When my mind wanders, bringing it back to him, and then letting this dependency ooze into the rest of my life, not just the special time with him. Obviously, if I'm having a conversation with someone else and my mind isn't as focused on Jesus, but the more that I spend time with him, the more my mind is tuned to his thoughts and his ways. But it requires that deep time with him, a deep level of submission, a deep level of completely submitting to his will in the moment and every single moment and just saying, Lord, direct me, and I trust you to direct me. And I'll wait, and I'm here when you're ready, Lord. And I'm right here, friend. There is such an amazing freedom. There's such an amazing love. There's such an amazing compassion and love from the Lord at this place in my journey. And I can only imagine that this has occurred in about a year period of time. Imagine what the next 20 years are going to be like. Friend, I invite you to give this a try with Jesus.